with BP, which faces 3 congressional committees this week as the company scrambles to find a plan B to cap that deepwater oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico. BP's massive containment dome failed to plug the leak over the weekend. The company now considering 2 other options: plugging the leak with debris or stopping it up with another smaller containment box that they would jam in the hole, so to speak. This amid fears that the spill indeed continues to move east after balls of tar washed up on an island 3 miles off of the Alabama coast. So far, 3.5 million gallons of oil have been spilled, adding, of course, every day and every night to that number as the oil continues to emerge from 18,000 feet beneath the ocean surface. McClatchy Newspapers reporting that since the spill, federal regulators have given oil companies 27 exemptions from environmental impact studies in the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, we know BP and the Gulf of Mexico in general does not have to comply with anything like the standards, for instance, that deepwater offshore drilling companies must comply with when they operate in a place like the North Sea. Here to mix it up is our panel, founder of FireDogLake.com, Jane Hamsher, and conservative talk radio host Martha Zoller. Nice to see you both. Jane, my friend John Fugelsang said this morning BP obviously doesn't stand for backup plan. There are many in the oil world who don't think there is a backup plan for a situation like this, that there is no contingency for an undersea volcano of oil, which in theory just isn't supposed to happen.
Well, and there's no contingency plan because why should they have to worry? Technically, BP is on the hook for the cleanup costs, but when it comes to the liability for fishermen or for tourism that are going to have their businesses devastated by this, there is a liability cap at $75 million, at which point the taxpayer comes in and starts rescuing these things. You know, these companies
that's not so bad, though, Jane. I don't know if you have heard, we have a printing press. So we can
yes,
we can print the money. It's not an issue, honestly. I don't know why BP has to pay anything.
This actually comes from an 8 cent a gallon tax on oil that's either imported or pumped domestically here. And so, yeah, it's the taxpayer who's going to pay. And if you don't have to, if you're not worried about the risk to your company of taking wild chances because somebody's going to come in and you know, bail you out if it happens, it's like the Wall Street bailout. Yeah. BP is acting like this. They didn't have a backup plan, and here we go again.
Martha, is the genius of modern business that you get to take all the money, but you get to stick all the risk with the state, so all the reward is private and all the risk is public? Is that the modern plan?
No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't. That isn't the way it should be. And there are other players here in Transocean and I think it's New Horizon that are the other people that are involved. And we're going to be doing drilling, and we need to do it safely. But you're right that BP has got to come up with a better plan. But I don't know if 3 congressional hearings are going to help anything. I want to get the answers. I want to know what went wrong. I want to know what caused the explosion initially. But, you know, I don't know, Dylan. I don't have much faith in what congressional hearings find out.
Yeah, me neither. Next, especially this Congress, although they are good at giving away our money, particularly to those who give them money. Speaking
Actually,
of,
no, our grandchildren's money.
You know, yes. Well, if you're, I won't get into it. It's going to be a cynical race to the bottom. We can be more productive. A warning shot for incumbents after the Tea Party helped oust Utah Senator Bob Bennett from the Republican primary. Bennett losing his bid for a 4th term this weekend after delegates, voted him out of the state's GOP convention. A pair of Tea Party-backed candidates will now face off in the GOP primary. Instead, fresh blood, in a sense. Tea Partiers are now hoping for another upset in next week's GOP Senate primary, this one in Kentucky. They're backing Rand Paul, yes, his father is Ron Paul, over Secretary of State Trey Grayson. Jane, is this what's coming, basically?
Well, Bennett was one of 33 Republicans who voted for George Bush's first TARP bailout. And I think that what the people in Utah are, what they're saying is that they don't want any people in the party who did that. And we're facing something quite similar tomorrow when the Senate will vote on Audit the Fed. We formed a bipartisan coalition with people on the right saying, look, we got to look at what these people are doing. You know, Jamie Dimon can know, but the Congress and the public can't know what the Federal Reserve is doing. And we'll watch senators see if they want to take that vote and risk the same thing that happened to Bob Bennett, you know, populist anger on both sides.
Martha, you agree with that?
Yeah, and I tell you what, it was time for Bennett to go. I think it's a good thing that caucuses get together. Now, it's a little different in my state. Tomorrow, there's going to be a special election for an open congressional seat where it's the same kind of thing. The Tea Party group has endorsed Tom Graves, and the other people are fighting about that, and we'll see if they have any pull there. But the Rand Paul, interestingly enough, he's got Sarah Palin in his corner also, so it's kind of a combination of people, and it's getting some new blood in there, and we need new blood. I don't care if it's Democrats or Republicans. People that have been in Washington 30 years, very few I can think of need to stay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the state of our country, whether it's the ongoing bailouts of our own banking system, the accounting fraud that perpetuates in our own banking system, or the list of things from Toyota to British Petroleum, I think it's safe for everybody in America to give this entire Congress an F for their results, whatever their excuses may be. Finally, the backlash against Facebook. A growing number of users are upset over changes in the site's privacy policies, making much of your profile open to the public, whether they sign in or not. More importantly, open to advertisers looking to evaluate their demographic, if you will. Facebook also now funneling some of that information to corporations like Microsoft so that they can help, quote, personalize your visits to other websites. So if you go to some other website, they say, oh, we checked on your Facebook and we know that you like the color green and fishing. Here, look at this. Last week, 14 privacy groups filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission accusing Facebook of violating user privacy. One person has even started an online petition asking people to promise to quit Facebook for good. Jane, if you want the pleasures of interconnectedness and Facebookery, do those who provide those connections, whether it's Google or Facebook, have the right to sell and exploit the data as to what you do on their website to whoever they want, however they want, and you can go to hell?
Well, they can only do it if you allow them to do it, and people are getting really nervous about this. It's basically an IP grab, an intellectual property rights grab. They've got photos that you've uploaded that are now searchable. All of this information, things that you've written are now searchable. They can charge advertising for it where they couldn't before. So they've got a whole bunch of new product, in addition to being able to sell the data mining information to corporations. And, you know, it's going to stop when people say, enough, yeah. I'm stopping, I'm not going to be on Facebook anymore, and that's what people are starting to do. Yeah,
Martha, what do you say?
Well, there's no such thing as privacy on the internet. I mean, you know, anything you put in there, I taught my kids, you put something on the internet, you know, if people are going to find it, they can find it, and it's searchable, and Facebook is using it. And yes, the only way to stop it is to get away from Facebook. But it's no different than any other media source we've had over time. They always try to take your privacy away, and you have to protect that. Yep. And sometimes that means by not playing.
Yep. All right, listen, you guys couldn't come from a more opposing political spectrum. And I think you agreed up and down the horn today. I don't know whether we should mark the day or whether it's a sign of... I honestly think it's more an indication of the changing tide in this country and the nature of the dialogue. And I appreciate both of you helping all of us explore it in public like this. Thank you, guys.